Jai Shri Ram. So, from today we are starting with book 2, that is Ayodhya and again Canto 1 of Ayodhya. Bharat, having left for his maternal grandfather's capital along with Shatrughan, Emperor Dashrath makes up his mind to install Sri Ram as his regent and summoning a number of princes for consultation, confers with them on the subject. As has already been stated in the verses 17 to 19 of the foregoing canto, the sinless Shatrughan, the destroyer of the lasting enemies, was taken away on that occasion by Bharat while the latter was proceeding to his maternal uncle's home, full of affection as he was for Bharat. Entertained with hospitality by his maternal uncle, Yudhajit, an owner of horses, and fondled with paternal affection, he tarried there in his maternal grandfather's house with his younger brother Shatrughan. Continuing there, and even though being gratified with desired objects, the two gallant brothers thought of their aged father King Dashrath. The highly glorious emperor too remembered both his aforesaid sons, Bharat and Shatrughan, who vied severely with mighty Indra, the ruler of gods, and Varuna, the god presiding over the waters, and were away from their home. All the four princes, who were veritable jewels among men, were equally dear to him, like four arms sprung from one's own person. Of them, however, the highly glorious Sri Ram afforded ecstatic delight to him and was more richly endowed with excellences than others, as Brahma, the self-born creator, is among created beings. For entreated by the gods, seeking the destruction of the haughty Ravan, the eternal Lord Vishnu himself was born on the mortal plane as Sri Ram. Queen Kaushalya, the mother of Sri Ram, shone with that her son, possessed as he was of infinite glory, even as Aditi did with her son Indra, the wielder of thunderbolt, the foremost of gods. He was indeed possessed of physical charm, full of valor, and free from censoriousness. He was incomparable on earth as a son and was a replica of Dashrath in point of virtues. He was even tranquil of mind and spoke softly without being accosted. Nay, he did not retort, even though spoken harshly too. He felt gratified even with a single good turn casually rendered, and did not take to heart even 100 wrongs because of his mastery over his self. He ever used to converse only with pious men, senior to him in point of moral worth, enlightenment, and age, even at times of respite from his training in the use of missiles. He was talented and suave of speech, took the initiative in speaking with others, affable and valiant, yet not elated with his extraordinary prowess. He never told a lie, was learned and a respecter of his elders, nay, was loved by the people and also loved the people in his turn. He was full of compassion and had conquered anger with a votary of the Brahmanas, commiserate to the miserable, knew what is right, always exercised self-control and practiced purity, both internal and external. With his mind intent on what was worthy of his race, he made much of his duty as a Kshatriya, and with great fondness regarded heaven as the eminent reward following from it. He never took delight in an act which was not conducive to blessedness, had no relish for profane talks, and, like the sage Brihaspati, advanced arguments and counter arguments in support of his contention. He was free from diseases, youthful, eloquent, and possessed of a robust body, and knew the right place and time for action. He was the only pious soul evolved in the world who could know the worth of every individual appearing before him. Endowed with superb qualities, the aforesaid prince actually grew to be the favorite of the people by virtue of his manifold excellences, and was like their very life moving outside. Sri Ram, the eldest brother of Bharat, had mastered all sciences and fulfilled all sacred vows, had duly studied all the four Vedas, including the branches of knowledge auxiliary to them, and proved superior even to his father. Emperor Dashrath, a unique bowman himself in archery as well as in the use of missiles, propelled by force of mystic spells. A source of all blessings, beneficent, even ever undepressed, truthful of speech and guileless, he had been instructed all round by elderly Brahmins possessing insight into the moral principles and secular interests. He knew the truth about the principles of righteousness, material enjoyment, and prosperity, was possessed of a keen memory and perspicacious. He had acquired proficiency in the discharge of his secular duties and was well versed in Vedic rites too. He was modest and kept his feelings concealed with his deliberations secret and attracted good many followers. His wrath and pleasure both were unfailing, and he knew when to release funds and when to withhold them. He was unflinching in devotion and stable of mind, did not gather unworthy men about him, nor did he utter foul words. He was free from sloth and ever vigilant, and was alive to the faults of his own people as well as to those of others. He was well versed in sacred lore and recognized the services of others, could read men's mind, and was upright in meting out punishment and bestowing favors according to the principles of equity. He was expert in gathering pious men about him and patronizing them, and knew where to use force. He was conversant with the methods of tapping the sources of income without oppressing the people, and also knew the art of expending money as laid down in the Shastras, works on political economy. He had acquired proficiency in Shastras, the various departments of knowledge, as well as in works such as dramas written in mixed tongue, which with Sanskrit mixed with Prakrit dialect, and enjoyed the pleasures of sense, keeping inviolate the principles of righteousness and maintaining the soundness of his finances. Nay, he never remained inactive. He was a connoisseur of arts such as vocal and instrumental music, drawing, etc., intended to entertain oneself, and knew how to allocate funds to various items of expenditure. He was an expert in riding on and taming elephants and horses. He was the foremost of those knowing the science of archery, and was esteemed in the world even by the Atirathis, those who fight a number of Maharathis alone. He not only knew how to make an inroad into an enemy's stronghold, but also how to take the offensive in a war, and was skilled in disposing the army of a particular battle array. He could not be overpowered in an encounter even by the gods and demons in rage. He was devoid of a carping spirit, had conquered wrath, was never elated, and never gave way to jealousy. He could not be disregarded with impunity by created beings, and was not subject to the control of time. Endowed with the foregoing noblest virtues, Sri Ram, son of Emperor Dashrath, was esteemed not only by the people of Ayodhya but in all the three worlds, viz., heaven, earth, and the intermediate region. He was a compeer of Mother Earth, the repositor of all riches, in forbearance and other allied virtues, and vied with the sage Brihaspati, the preceptor of gods, in wisdom, and with Indra, the consort of Sachi, in valor. Nay, like the sun god resplendent with his rays, Sri Ram shone brightly by virtue of his aforesaid excellences, was loved by all the people of Ayodhya, affording delight to his father, Emperor Dashrath. Goddess Earth herself sought for her protector, and the aforesaid prince, who was endowed with such lofty character, was possessed of valor that could not be subdued, and who vied with guardians of the spheres in might and splendor. Seeing his eldest son Sri Ram adorned with these manifold incomparable virtues, Emperor Dashrath, the chastiser of his enemies, for his part reflected as follows. The thought forthwith entered the mind of the aged and long-lived emperor, how should Ram be crowned king during my very lifetime? How can this delightful event take place? Well, shall I actually behold my beloved son Sri Ram installed as Prince Regent? This alone is the supreme desire revolving in my heart. Commiserating all created beings, he truly seeks the advancement of all the people. Like a rainy cloud, he is dearer to the world than myself. He is a compeer of Yama and Indra in valor, wise with Brihaspati in understanding, resembles a mountain in firmness, and excels me in qualities. Seeing at this ripe age my aforesaid son, Sri Ram, holding sway over this entire globe, let me ascend to heaven in due course. Reflecting thus and perceiving Sri Ram endowed with the aforesaid manifold excellences difficult to find in other kings, as well as with all other innumerable excellences uncommon in the world, and deliberating with his ministers, the Emperor Dashrath decided to install him as Prince Regent. The shrewd emperor forthwith spoke to the ministers about the grave risk foreshadowed by the portents appearing in the heaven, in the aerial region, as well as on earth, as also of old age telling on him, on his own body. On the other hand, he learned from the ministers of the great popularity of the high-souled Sri Ram, whose countenance resembled the full moon in its pleasing property, a popularity which assuaged the emperor's own agony caused by the thought of evil portents. Nay, for his own good as well as for the good of the people, as also with a view to their gratification and out of love for them, that pious monarch urged the ministers to make haste when the opportune time for the installation came. The emperor caused to be summoned to his capital the prominent citizens of various cities, as also the rulers of different parts of the country on the globe. Decked with jewels himself, the king saw them when they had been honorably lodged in quarters and presented with various ornaments according to their respective rank, even as Brahma, the lord of created beings, would see his progeny. In a hurry, however, Dashrath, the ruler of men, invited neither the king of Keke's nor King Janak, and consoled himself with the thought that the two monarchs would hear the delightful news afterwards. Now that the aforesaid monarch, Emperor Dashrath, who was capable of destroying the enemy's stronghold, had taken his seat in the assembly called by him, the other kings who were esteemed of the people forthwith entered the assembly. The kings then sat down in a disciplined way, facing the emperor alone in the different seats allotted to them by the emperor, surrounded by the kings that had received attentions from the emperor and were full of modesty, as well as by the prominent men who had their residence in the city of Ayodhya or belonged to the other parts of the country, and who all sat close to the emperor in order to be able to hear distinctly what he said. The aforesaid monarch shone like the glorious Indra, the thousand-eyed god, in the midst of other gods. Thus ends Canto 1 in the AYODHYAKAND of the glorious Ramayan of Valmiki, the work of a rishi and the oldest epic. Jai Shri Ram.